The movie is called 5/25/77. Interesting little thing. I looked at that and it brought back memories. Some guy who made 8mm stuff and wanted to go to Hollywood and see the movie. It was 5/27. Is when that's the date that Star Wars came out, 1977. I was still in school. I was still following my career, being a movie maker. And in this movie here, it shows a lot of producer and a lot of people. And you really ask the question is, why? Well, I got to go to Hollywood to meet the people. Well, I didn't go to Hollywood to meet the people. I joined this, the Society of Motion Pictures and Television Engineer, when I was in school. Hollywood came here in Chicago. Every year, a local chapter would have and we were a pretty big chapter here. And we moved from the peninsula of Michigan all the way to New Orleans. This whole section was that thing. And as I said, every year, the local Chicago section would have a big doodag here and at a hotel, and fill up a lot of people, a lot of local industry people, not so much students, but a lot of industry. And I was really involved, besides working a job, I was really involved in school and professional organization. I belonged to a film producers organization. I belonged to theater groups, and I was really going to get into it. And why didn't I? It's more or less a lot of the students I went to school with had Aries, 16mm Aries, or Eclairs, or a bunch of other 16mm cameras. I had a little wind-up Bolex that it really was different. Well, the author of this thing had Super 8, I had 16. He got the little cartridge. I went on and got color. I bought it in 400-foot rolls, which was really interesting. That somebody told me, one of the guys from this, Ed Blasco and Eastman Kodak, said to me, you know, you can buy film directly from Eastman Kodak in Oak Brook. And Ed said, if you were a business, yeah, you still start your own film company, and then you get the resale tax number from the state, and you do what other people do, quote unquote, you buy it directly from here instead of buying it that thing. So I did. Instead of going to Chicago, I bought it from Eastman Kodak in Oak Brook. And that thing. And as I said, Hollywood came here. So I met met the directors there that came in Chicago, and they spoke. And I think Spielberg, I don't think Spielberg was that thing. I don't think so. But Trumbull was here. And other directors were here, this thing, and you belong to the right organization. There was a motion picture, Academy motion picture, in Chicago, and every month they would run a movie from Hollywood. Yep, and you get to meet the directors too. You know, they would have their yearly meeting in Chicago, and all the directors and producers would come because that thing, and you had to be in those cliques, and then you get the distributors of movies. They would meet, but everything else. But on this movie, a very short clip. They went into the American Cinematographers Society, ASC, and they showed you the American Cinematographers magazine, which I still read. Da, 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 da. And you get to read stuff of exactly what they're doing, and that's nice. And somebody asked me the question, did you ever go to Hollywood? No, I talked to directors here. And they basically said, you go to Hollywood and everybody grows up with a camera in your hand. Don't quit your day job. And I'll be disappointed. Very few people that are coming out, say, Columbia College who went to Hollywood actually did anything. They usually worked for the same thing I used to do. Is I used to work for Chris Burt, and we would do commercials, and I would get paid by having dinner. That's right, Chris. Chris made the money, and I got a dinner out of it. I worked for Gordon Weisenborn, a screenwriter and director, doing commercials. Jack Barron's, doing commercials with him. I even worked for a couple of times with Jack Whitehead. Director Robert Emmons directed a couple things. You do that out of school. Well, why did you go to Columbia College? Well, I was going to be a cameraman. Originally, I went to Columbia College to be a photojournalist. And I learned very quickly is that my little camera here was not equal to their little camera there. The guys were running around with Hasselblads. I'm running down with my little 35 millimeter camera. Okay. Big difference in negative. Very big difference. Their stuff wasn't grainy. And I learned something else too. They never walked into the labs down at Columbia College to develop their stuff. These people never used enlargers. They went to LaSalle Photo. LaSalle Photo would give them contact sheet, and they would pick out these things, and some guy in the back room would sit there with the enlarger and moseys up to an 8x10, and then they would bring it to school and say, hey, this is my work. And I went there very quickly. I'm not exactly the brightest thing on the planet. But hey, yeah. But again, let's go back to the movie making and how that thing. You saw what the American Cinematographer magazine, it was there and still is now. And why do I still read it? Oh, I'm still, dabbling in it. No, well, actually, I'm not. I do video, more or less. My cameras are still more than my Bolex was. My Bolex was a $300 Bolex 16 millimeter. As I said, I would buy film from Eastman Kodak, my 400-foot roll, and I got these little 300-foot, 100-foot things, and I would get my little black bag and sit in a dark room, and I would break all this down to 100-foot rolls, put them on that thing with gloves on, and shoot that way. And occasionally I would rent a camera from Jack Barron's rental and 400-foot that stuff. I did that a few times, several times. And you're doing your little thing. You try to make your little film, which I did. I did a couple films, school projects. My little Ice Works. I did that, which is on the internet somewhere. Maybe just put that back on there. But I did my little thing and made a little stick. But they showed something else. A very small clip of this. I don't remember the price on this. But all of us filmmakers had one of these. All the students had it. Yes, sirree. We went to wherever we got this thing. I think I got this from Jack Barron's. But this is 1973. I got a light meter, so I think it's somewhere around here, house. I got the director's finder, the director's little thing. Oh, we got to look through this thing. And, Oh, I gave that over to Van's son. 16 millimeter projector. I bought one of those for my stuff to look at my 16 millimeter. I bought the rewind from Moviola, real rewinds and everything else, and all the little stuff like that. Yes, spent a lot of money for what? 1977 or something like that. Panasonic came out with their video machine. Okay, it was that big, looked like an IBM Selector typewriter, that big, right, heavy too. And it had one thing, it had a VHS tape in it. Now you can hook up a camera on this, lug this thing around. What's a VHS camera? The tapes were $25 each, 2 hours, $25 each. They gave sound and they gave color. Of course, you still had to fool around with the lights and that, not like these LEDs here. But yeah, you still had to sit there with you're lighting that thing, but it's 2 hours. $25 for a 2-hour tape versus $80 for a 400-foot roll, color. Then to develop is 9 cents a foot, and then you need a work print at another cost. So you still had a lot of money. And as Jack Behrens, who had Behrens and Company, the rental house, said, that's going to replace us. And it did. It did. But back to the thing like that. I'm quite sure the quote guy who did this thing never rented anything from the professional houses. He had his little Super 8 stuff, and that's what he did. But I like this film for one thing. It does bring back memories. And he's, as I said, they came here. And they talked here, and they talked the reality of there. And says, it doesn't make any difference who you think you know in Hollywood. There's a line of people who just graduated from this high school that wants to come into this business. And what you're going to do is work for the, quote, little people, making little films or movies, getting little money, that thing, and don't quit your day job. Because don't quit your day job. It's something like being in theater. If you can't get a job in Chicago, then you go to Broadway. Yeah. Can't get a job there either. But I looked at the credit lines, and this thing was, a lot of stuff came from Super 8, okay, guy's Super 8 stuff he did when he was making his movies, and it started back in 2006 or something like that, or earlier. Him out there doing his Super 8 stuff and trying to be Hollywood and spending all that money. And it was released in 2022. One of the things, one of the actors in it died 12 years ago or 10 years ago. Yeah. It's like, yeah, it took 18 years to finish this film. But if you look at the credits, that's a lot of people put money into it. And what was the box office take? There's no take on it. How much did it cost? There's no, whatever. But his little thing. But as they said, it's your own little project, doing your own little thing. Is it a good little thing? For all us old movie makers, yeah, it brings back memories. It's nice. Um, why didn't I go to Hollywood? Hollywood came to me. Who did you know? I knew the directors and producers. Why don't you go out there and say, don't come? You walk into my office, I got 20 other people there. Stay here. If you're going to make movies, you make movies in Chicago. You're going to do music videos, you do them in Chicago. Uh-huh. Chicago has all the scenery you want. You could almost, yeah, it does. You could almost do a Masterpiece Theater mystery in Chicago. And, whatever. But I do like that thing. It brings back memories. I would say go see it. It's to me, I had to see it 2 or 3 times. I had to run this 2 or 3 times to really see what I'm seeing. It's a hogwash of stuff. I don't know how much is from his 8mm stuff and how much is new, but whatever. Yeah. It's yeah. So, okay.